The aftermath of the Diddy verdict, the Me Too movement, the continued civil lawsuits, the continued information and people that come forward. It's a lot, man. But what do you expect from a trial that big? You're talking about Diddy, household name, billionaire, megastar, behind all these musical geniuses and hits and producers and artists. He brought us Biggie Smalls, man. Like, it's Diddy. What do we expect? And you're naive if you felt like, okay, verdict comes down, he's getting hit with these two charges, and then everything's just going to be quiet until his sentence, and then everything else is going to get swept under the rug. Everybody's going to move on. No. There's tons of people we haven't heard from. There's a lot of people that purposefully weren't brought to trial. And let's set the stage with this piece right here. The government, the feds, the prosecution, right? You probably got, just like the jury list, there's a pool of 300 people, and you fine tune all the way down to the candidates that you actually want to sit in those seats, right? It's no different than your witnesses, okay? You think that the only witnesses that were interviewed were the witnesses that took the stand? No. The witnesses could have interviewed me for all y'all know, right? Hey, podcast guy, what do you know about Diddy and Cassie? I don't know much. All right, get the fuck on. It's a lot of people that probably had allegations or that whose names were buzzing or things that came about. You don't know some of your celebrities that might have got interviewed or approached. You just don't know. Did Justin Bieber ever get a letter in the mail or a subpoena or and even if you get subpoenaed, remember they could interview you, they could sit you down, and they can determine what your testimony would be, or some of the things that you would, state in trial. It may or may not be good for us. It may or may not be good for the prosecution. So we got this big buzz developing with this Clayton Howard guy. Now, we saw the reports of the male escort that was suing Diddy and suing Cassie for receiving STD, as well as Cassie having an abortion allegedly without his knowledge. So I looked at that. And I was, first of all, it comes to these freak offs. You get an STD, you get an STD, you get an STD. It, like, they're freak offs. Like, the last thing you want to do is walk into a freak off without a condom on, right? But hey, you choose your life. And then when it comes to the abortion without consent, we pulled that up. We pulled up the legal ramifications of that. And it said 9 times out of 10, or more than that, like 99.9% of the time, like the woman, whose body is carrying the potential child would not, face legal ramifications. Now, the person administering the abortion, like the doctor and stuff like that, depending on state, those people can possibly be legally liable. So when we saw that report, all right, Cassie, you are now a co-defendant to Diddy. How ironic. You thought that this was over. You thought you was going to walk away with your 20 plus 10, meaning 20 million from the settlement with Diddy and 10 million from the hotel. Nah. They know you got 30 million in your back pocket now. You're going to go through some stuff too. But I looked at that, felt a little frivolous, felt a little bullshit, bringing up, oh, you had an abortion without my consent. Yeah, all right, whatever. Normally, you have men complaining about let me not go there. So, turns out, though, this is becoming a way bigger situation. This guy, Clayton Howard, aka Dave or whatever, he's interviewing. He's doing a lot of it. He's doing a lot of lives. He's doing a lot of social media. He's out there. His full all-out lawsuit. I'm gonna bring up the paperwork. All right, we're gonna listen to some of his recent audio and interviews that's come out on TMZ. We're gonna look at the paperwork. We're gonna get an idea of who he is. And then we're going to answer some of the title. Is Cassie really a victim or a co-conspirator as it relates to this new lawsuit? All right. So we'll touch on that. What else do I got for you today? I got a little quick one with Kendrick, just something to take a look at. Nothing major. Oh, there was another piece that related to yesterday's stream. If you caught that, people. I did a long topic about the K-Shine card announcement, right? The moment I got off that stream, I got hit up by somebody and said, man, there's an example that you forgot, which was, I'll say allegedly URL calling Hitman Holla and telling Hitman Holla as he was developing his card, hey, I heard rumors that you might be booking K-Shine. I just want to let you know, like, if you're booking him, we might have to send a cease and desist because this is the situation with us in K-Shine, yada, 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 yada. Turns out Hitman was never working or negotiating with K-Shine. How that person got a hold of that rumor, I don't know. Was it a rumor or was it just a temperature check of like, hey man, I see that you got you and Gotti, and I'm hearing about this big card that Power Move is about to be, man. I hope you don't got K-Shine. You never know. Who knows? Allegedly, right? But yeah, that is just another added example when I was talking about examples of tap-ins or possible alleged cease and desist just being used as fear tactics to scare people off the mountain, because I created a very, very logical question and legally based question that I would love for us to answer, or for battle rap bloggers to answer, which is, if URL allegedly sent a cease and desist once upon a time to the Power Moves, not Power Moves, I'm sorry, the Power Network, which is being reported on by bloggers such as Chris Unbiased and other bloggers from almost like a tapped in or got that information from somewhere type of standpoint. And if people are worried, like, what about if Chrome tries to work with K-Shine or RBE for a full circle, or Chilla Jones may have been interested. Seeing that stuff going around. But I look at now that K-Shine has a card out, if it's all about K-Shine owing you money, then you would cease and desist him now that he's got his own card coming out, and to zip him up too, right? Right? Wouldn't that make sense? So then if not, it makes you question, are you just trying to stifle um the players or the sponsors or the other backings that can help this man deliver an event and get himself a check? And then you start to talk about alleged corruptions. Then if not, you can't have picks in that. If I'm owed money, I'm coming at it wherever I see it. No? Yes? So just a question to put out there. So that rounds out yesterday's stream. But I think other than that, we're pretty much ready to jump into the main topic. We got some videos and everything to jump through. Shout out to the chat that's coming into the building. Happy Monday. We back to the work week for most people. A lot of people work Monday through Friday. Some of us work 7 days a week. I'm kind of like a 7-day a week kind of guy. But yeah, 6 a.m. crew. Shout out to the green team. Shout out to everybody here. I see Jay in the building. What's up? Good morning, love. Oh, I see Battle Facts in the building. What's good, G? Speaking of battle rap bloggers and the question I just posed, that's a question, man. You know what I'm saying? Do you have an answer, sir? It doesn't have to be the correct answer. I just want to know what your answers are. Well, good morning, G. We got Between Rounds TV in the building. We got Big Yellow 317 in the building. Okay, I see my member Jonathan in the building. I see Money Machine Mont is in the building. Kelson's here with us. Okay. James Halliburton, of course, related to the NBA superstar Tyrese Halliburton. He's in the building. So for all the A-verbs in the chat, this is somebody you could count his pockets. You can go after him with a frivolous lawsuit if you feel like you need a buck. Here he is right here, celebrity brother. Clifton is in the building. What's good, G? Okay, whatever. Hustle Boy is in the building, our member. Sincerely, Tiff Marie is here. Good morning, love. Calm is in the building. Our green team member Rose Gold is here. Yeah, maybe it's a back to work thing, because members is definitely awake Monday, 6 o'clock. Okay, I get it. HLS and G is here, our member. Cap is with us. Green team, gang. All right, man. I don't want to miss anybody. Tony, one of our members, is in the building. What's good? All right. And shout out to the chat, of course, in general. Shout out to the chat. I see y'all. Don't think I only see the green team. I see y'all in here. I see y'all. All right, let's get to work. Let's start walking. Exhibit number one. So let's come up to speed. Cassie Diddy accuser she loved Puff's power. I wanted to sue earlier. All right. So this is audio as it relates to this Clayton Howard guy. Before I play it, let's do a little bit more of the read. The former escort who is suing both Cassie and Diddy for drugging, manipulating, and traumatizing him tells TMZ he believes Cassie reveled in Diddy's power when it came to getting what she wanted. Do y'all believe that? What y'all think about that audio that came out in trial, where she was like, hey, if I don't get it, if you don't let me see it, I'll kill you, and it won't be my hands that do it neither. I'm calling the goons on you. Well, she didn't say I'm calling the goons, but I definitely felt like, who's behind her? Where does she feel empowered to be able to talk like that to people? It's Diddy, who by now we all believe and know he's a violent ass person. Do I need to say allegedly? Take a listen to our interview with Clayton, who was identified as Dave. During the music mogul sex trafficking and racketeering trial, he says there's a different side to Cassie that embraced Diddy's power to manipulate him. Hold on, this ad popped up to manipulate him into their exotic sexual encounters. Okay. This is why Clayton says he continued seeing Diddy and Cassie for nearly a decade. A decade. Here goes these long periods of time, Clayton, aka Dave. You was there just as long as she was with Diddy. They say she's 10 or 11 years. Huh? You there for damn near a decade your damn self, huh? Listen, don't get it twisted, my ladies in the chat. You're not gonna be coming on these streams and seeing me tear at these BS women and then get a fellas a pass. Fuck no. I'll fuck around and go at the guys even worse. Cause from a man's perspective, I'm like, oh no, this bitch behavior. But hold on, let's get through it because there's a lot. We're gonna start to decipher. We got paperwork to do. We got videos. We got a couple before we start to decipher bullshit. Or wait a minute, we gotta listen to the guys. Like it's not just women that go through this type of shit. We'll see. Hold on. He says he was nervous the last night the hitmaker could easily use his deep connections to retaliate against him. Plus, he needed the cash. I like for the needed the cash part to be first. Let me go to big screen. My bad. I like for the needing of the cash part to be first. Like, I'm fucking Cassie for 10 years, and I'm in these freak offs. I'm getting my nut off, and I'm getting paid for it. One of the worst problems that I'm having in life is fear that if I stop fucking Cassie, that the goons is coming at me. I probably have worse problems to think about than that in life. How about if I really don't want to be doing this, why I need to be fucking Cassie to get by, to get my rent paid? Like that's a bigger problem. What are you gonna do if they stop messing with you? You was able to sit there and start to damn near create a dependency because if you're there for 8-10 years, right, you can kind of count on it. All right, well, they normally call me every 2 to 3 weeks. 8, 9, 10 years. This is a job. Dare I say career then? But you have bigger fucking problems than worrying about if I stop fucking Cassie or joining these freak offs, I might have a goon sent to me. What? If I don't see it I'm not saying it can't be true. It just doesn't seem aligned properly for a man. But all right, here you go. You're gonna send the goons on me. If you're wondering why he didn't file his civil lawsuit against the ex-lovers earlier, Clayton said he did try. He accuses his attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, of stalling the lawsuit in order to protect Cassie's reputation during the trial. Now, when we started the stream and I gave the whole backdrop of think about all the people that may have been interviewed or engaged by the feds or the government that actually weren't brought into trial because maybe they felt like their testimonies weren't that great for the prosecution. Very, very high chance that they have tens of people that we just never met and never seen, right? But peep this name, Tyrone Blackburn, that gets mentioned here. Isn't that the attorney of Fat Joe's accuser, right? The guy that allegedly got in trouble for hitting somebody with a car while they were attempting to serve him a subpoena, allegedly. Yeah, we went through the Fat Joe and the other sides, the paperwork on both, and that was very, very spooky. Check that out if you haven't seen it. But yeah, similar name here, huh? As we cover these lawsuits, especially things that are in New York, right? It's starting to feel like the industry as far as everybody dating each other. It's like everybody uses the same attorneys, huh? We're starting to get real familiar and see a lot of repeat. And I ain't just talking about a Brian Steele, but or Tyrone Blackburn, but all right. The former sex worker further addresses why he's going after Cassidy for monetary damages rather than criminal charges. There goes that money over criminal again. telling us the U.S. Attorney's Office is well aware that she was a co-conspirator with Diddy, but they only cared about getting Diddy. That's a big accusation towards the government. Be careful. They knew she was a co-conspirator. Okay. He even accuses the government of not caring about male victims, saying it's all about Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. As the rapper getting off on 3 or more of the serious charges in his trial, Clayton gives us his raw thoughts, calling this an utter slap in the face of the Me Too movement. All right, I'm going to play this audio real quick, people. There could be people in the chat or that watch these streams that don't necessarily know what the Me Too movement is. You hear about it. You maybe got a gray, loose understanding of what it is. I'm going to read the definition for you just to make sure. The Me Too movement is a social movement against sexual harassment and assault, where individuals publicly share their experiences, often using the hashtag Me Too. It gained widespread attention in 2017 after allegations against Harvey Weinstein surfaced. Initially founded in 2006 by Tarana Burke, the movement aims to support survivors and create awareness about the prevalence of sexual violence. So this guy, he has a lot to say at times from what I've seen online about the Me Too movement. Should the Me Too movement have this automatic thought of women, or should it be inclusive of men? You know, y'all could answer that. Y'all could think about that. Let's play some audio.
One, I was in an economic position where I really needed the money. Two, Mr. Combs is incredibly powerful, and Miss Ventura had no problem ending her use of that power, which has actually been revealed now because we've heard recordings of her threatening people. We've seen text messages. There are many different sides to people, and even Cassie is a normal individual. She has herself. There's a side to her that people don't, the side that manipulated Sean Combs' power, the side that embraced his power and his position to do things that she wanted. So I was always afraid if I stopped coming, then I would start having problems because she threatened me several times to come and made me feel uncomfortable that I would come to see her just to avoid any problem with Sean Combs. He's incredibly powerful. He has people that could follow me around, damaging my life for years, and it would cost him nothing to do it. So I want to say I continued in the situation, but not as much. There was many times that I did stall them, flake on them as the word goes, and not show up. But I kept the relationship strong enough that they never thought I was trying to turn on them or betray their secrets. I have been trying to file litigation for this matter against Sean Combs and Cassie since I want to say March of 2024, maybe February. But I was represented by Tyrone Blackburn. And Tyrone Blackburn has a substantial amount of litigation against Sean Combs that the conviction of Sean Combs was dependent on him winning a lot of his civil cases. My attorney intentionally held the filing back to protect the credibility of Cassie. Tyrone Blackburn, he intentionally held it back. I have numerous communications to him where I am directly informing him to file. He would talk to the prosecutors and then he would duck me for weeks and not file the lawsuit. So this is why it was never filed. I feel he was working with them. He had conversations with them without me. He literally would disobey my direct instruction. I'm the client. I'm the one who's supposed to direct my attorney to make decisions. If I tell you to exercise a statute for a claim, as my attorney, you can either quit or you can do it. What Tyrone did was duck me into the statute of the Gender Motivated Violence Act that's expired this year, in March. He ducked me until maybe 48 hours before the expiration of the statute, so I wouldn't have enough time to draft the complaint that I filed myself that you found me with now. If the U.S. Attorney's Office knows all of this and investigated her, and instead of prosecuting her, allowed her to have immunity and didn't prosecute her, me going after her for criminal charges kind of makes like vindictive. And I don't want that. That's the mission of my lawsuit. The mission of my lawsuit is to obtain justice for the things that I truthfully know Cassandra did. It's not about having her put in prison. I don't want to destroy her life. She has 3 beautiful children. She seems happily married. The truth of the matter is she never created this facade of a lie. I would never be talking about this. No one would ever believe me that I had the relationship I had with Cassie. Cassie is the one who brought me forward. She did this to herself. I told the U.S. Attorney's Office the truth of both parties, that they were co-conspirators. They were involved. They verified hotel locations. I saw text messages between me and Cassie. The U.S. Attorney's Office knew that Cassie was criminally complicit, but Sean Combs was more important, so they totally ignored it. It makes no sense for me to try to get criminal charges. They don't care about male victims. They care about empowering Cassie, and forgive me for saying this, with the Me Too movement.
Sounds like he has his ducks in a row, at least in that particular audio. There are some things in there of question, of course. Is it possible that people are going to protect a $1 billion trial of that spending all these tax dollars? Look how they look at Fulton County for dropping the ball on the YSL. You know, there's people that are looked at in certain ways, careers that are affected, people that could lose their jobs. It's a domino effect, right? This high profile Diddy case. Think about even all the man hours and work to put the indictment together and the grand jury process, all these people involved, the prosecution, the Fed work, all of this paperwork, sleepless nights to put this man on the stand and hopefully give him a conviction that is worthy of all this time spent, which a lot of people at this point feel like is not the case, right? But that's a lot of money and a lot of time spent. And when you have situations like that, who the fuck are we kidding? It's not conspiracy theory to tell yourselves that there are motives, there are priorities. That is a perfect word. There's just priorities. Is this guy's testimony or is this guy's accusations right now a priority? Does this help or does this hurt the grand scheme of why we are all here, which is to take Diddy down or to land all these big charges on him? Maybe you're not a priority. If you're not a priority or if you're not helping this grand scheme of why we're all here, that doesn't necessarily mean cover up, right? If I'm the government and I'm looking around and I'm getting my hands and I'm subpoenaing on and I'm interviewing all these people that were alleged male escorts involved with Diddy and other people because I'm trying to get him for sex trafficking, I'm trying to get him for prostitution, I'm trying to get him for all these other crimes, right? Kidnapping. Now, if I interview this guy, if I subpoena this guy and I get him in front of me, I'm like, yo, what's up with you? And he's got all this foul shit to say about Cassie, but Cassie is our star witness. Do I really want him in my trial? No, right? So now he's really pointing the finger at Tyrone Blackburn, right? The attorney that he's saying he's going to, saying, I got to file this claim. And this is why I feel about Cassie. She is Diddy's co-conspirator. And he stalls him out. Avoids him, curves him, doesn't really help him out or whatever. Eventually, he's like, fuck it, I gotta file this shit on my own, right? Is Tyrone Blackburn possibly, let's say allegedly that was true, is he the main culprit of that? Probably not. He probably takes that information, he probably goes to the other side, and then there's a halt somewhere down the road. If we're about to taint our star witness's testimony, which is Cassie. So I'm not saying that it's right, but I'm saying I can almost see some truth in what he might be saying because it sounds extremely logical. Because the bigger grand scheme of what's going on here, it's bigger than what you got to say that might reverse some of the fucking eyes and ears as it relates to Cassie. So let's look at this other piece of audio that he's got that came out. Hold on. Here we go. Let's check this out.
This is not a loss for sexual assault victims. I think this is a loss for the Me Too movement and women who choose to use false allegations to destroy powerful men. I think it's a loss for prosecutors who manipulate narratives to destroy powerful men. Diddy should be in prison for the rest of his life. He was guilty. He paid me personally. He flew me to different places. Every charge they charged him with was actually statutorily correct. The only problem is that they used co-conspirators as victims, and that's what the problem they have. Cassie was a co-conspirator. Jane was a co-conspirator, period. And I think it's wrong that because men are coming out now against Cassie, that we are being attacked. We deserve the same respect that the women get in the Me Too movement when they are oppressed or coerced by powerful people, period. And that's the only thing I would really like to say to the people who want to judge myself.
Very well spoken and self-represented so far from the audio, right? We'll see if y'all change y'all opinion on him in a second. We'll get there. I would agree with him. I didn't read or see any. That's why we did the definition earlier. I've never seen or read anything that the Me Too movement is not inclusive of men. Never seen that. It's always a harder sale of a man being coerced and forced, especially sexually assaulted, right? Even some of it just boils down to the physical dynamics of the taking and the receiving of sexual acts, right? So for a man to be taken the way that we would normally look at a woman to be taken, unless you're talking about like a jail R, right? We just don't really feel that as common out in society. The dominant physically and all that. It just doesn't seem right. If I came to y'all right now and I said, "Yo, everybody, I just want to let y'all know, last night I was R'd by a woman," right? Y'all would just think I'm being sarcastic, or y'all would be waiting for the punchline. You think I'd just be up here bragging on my dick or some shit like that. Y'all would not take me as, yo, hey, damn, somebody help, or like, are you okay? Or nobody would ask question, what's your health like? Like, are you mentally distressed? Like, oh my God, are you going to put her in jail? What are we doing here, ARP? You're telling us that's a woman argued you last night. That would not be our reaction. And that is typical within society. Okay. That doesn't negate the fact that the Me Too movement should be inclusive of a man's claims of being coerced, being abused, being set up, being whatever, especially when correctly, I'm not saying that it's right, but correctly, he's using a big foundation of Diddy's power. Okay. So even though we don't look at a man being in that situation too commonly, right? If the main backdrop is you feel like your life is in danger and it's because behind Cassie, just like her audio, I'm gonna get you killed and it won't be my hands to do it. Ding, shit like that. He'll use, right? It's the power of Diddy being able to make a phone call on you or being able to get you touched, while he's states away. So, solid position so far, right? Very, very solid position. Let's talk real quick about, you know what? Let's play his next video first, and then I'll get back to that. Now, visually, now when you start to see him, I don't know if y'all perception is going to stay the same, because the audio sound very well spoken, but I ain't gonna lie, in the video he starts to come off a little bit more opportunistic-y. Let's check it out. Actually, my bad. Is opening up in a different window. I'll open that for y'all. I got y'all. Hold on. Take that down. Let's open up this one instead. Boom. All right, cool.
Your idol did this to herself. She exposed herself to liability when she got on the stand and decided to mention me as the male escort who was with her when she overdosed and Diddy made her have sex with him. That was a lie, people. Cassie had just woke up from sleeping 8 hours. Myself and Sean Combs were exhausted. We wanted to go home. Cassie's the one who forced that sexual encounter. People, she tells you that Sean Combs...
This is what I mean. This is what I mean when I say, when I watch the video now, you create cause to pause, sir. Sometimes talking too much is an adverse effect. Now, the first audio on TMZ, when it's just the whole, the backdrop of Cassie with Diddy and yo, I don't want to piss him off. I don't want him to think that his secrets can possibly be exposed by somebody like me, because that can create problems for me. I'll hear you, especially if we think that Diddy's a violent person and you've been around him for 10 years, a decade damn near. You probably seen some things. You probably caught a vibe. You should know when there's somebody around you that moves like that or has the ability to turn into that, right? And Diddy obviously gives that off, okay? A lot of people are coming out saying that we are scared of this guy. Shit. They didn't even want to see him get bail after his conviction came down. We're scared. We're scared. We're scared. This person's scared. This person's running. This person's moving to another country. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared, right? But now you want to get on camera and tell me in this particular piece, I get it. You're going after Cassie, right? We know that she has 30 million now. You're going after Cassie. And you say, there was a time where Diddy and I both didn't want to do nothing, but the 108-pound Cassie is the one that forced you guys. You see, the words kill me a little bit, because you're trying to use words and you're trying to make a picture of it that almost seems like it's physical. Like it's real abuse, like a man grabbing a woman, throwing her on the bed and taking advantage of her, right? To say forced. Now you got this tired ass grown man Diddy, and you also a grown man tired, and Cassie forced you guys. At best, what Cassie, with her 108-pound self, what these two grown ass men can do is convince you guys. And then we got to talk about your own willpower. I want to go again. Both Diddy, and what is your name, Dave? You're going by again, more freak off, whatever. No, we don't want to. Don't coerce me. All right, how about this? This time I'll give you head, and I'll switch around for you or whatever. Oh, I'm being coerced. Really? That's what you want me to do? That's what you want me to do? Niggas catching lawsuits for just being in the orgies. Be insanity. Let's play some more.
Made her have sex on her menstrual cycle. I can't speak for anyone else but myself, but I know the one time that did happen, that Sean Combs was not responsible for that Cassie, in a drunken, intoxicated, hormonally imbalanced state due to her period, manipulated and forced herself on me during her menstrual cycle. And what I mean by that is I had no knowledge she was on her menstrual cycle because the room was completely dark. She manipulated the room. She manipulated the environment to get what she wanted, and then she totally got up like I was the one who should have been grateful. You're on your...
Manipulated the environment. He's well spoken, people. Manipulated the environment. You know, like there's a lot of people in the world that like to have their orgies or their sexual encounters in a decent, mood. Those moods tend to be maybe darker or maybe candlelit, or certain music is playing. If I invite a lady over to my crib, and we both know what the night is. She's coming to fuck, and I'm inviting her to fuck, right? But we don't necessarily move like that in this particular encounter. Maybe we just want to be a little bit romantic, have a drink or two, have a conversation, maybe watch a little bit of TV. For some of y'all, Netflix and chill, right? But we both know what we're here for, right? There's a thing sometimes called setting the environment and setting the mood. Okay, if she walks in and I got the candles lit and the music playing, you know what I'm saying, and the lights is dim, and I'm playing Love Jones as the movie on Netflix today. I'm not putting on some wild ass bang bang. I'm putting on something that's a little bit more fitting of the vibe, right? You're going to tell me I coerced this whole shit, and here comes a lawsuit because I set a natural vibe for us to fuck? Like, who doesn't set environments? Here's a funny one about setting an environment. Clean up. How about that? I walked in the house and it was all clean, and I'm pretty sure they don't keep the house like that. So I feel like it was all cleaned out and situated and looking all nice, and they dusted, and the bed was made and everything, because it was an attempt to coerce me or manipulate me into having sex. Yo, what I just said was a joke. I promise you, within the next 10 years, somebody, if not already, somebody's going to have that in their fucking civil suit. This person is known to have a dirty house, but this time it was clean. So I feel like I was being manipulated. I'm dead serious. I expect to see that in a lawsuit within the next 10 years, if it has not fucking happened already. Y'all are crazy out there. The more and more we do this podcast, the more and more I want to stay in the fucking house. Y'all are insane. Oh yeah, by the way, real quick, about the menstrual cycle, adults in the chat. Yes, it can happen when she knows, right? Sometimes a woman, yeah, all right, I'm not gonna go too far on that. But there are also times where a woman doesn't know, or a woman also miscalculates. Damn, I'm supposed to be another day or two before it starts, or damn, it's supposed to be over, right? There's miscalculations as well. Now, I know a man is going to look at a woman and expect her to know her body, right? But sometimes even women's cycle, it can change, right? It changes. It's not set in stone for y'all, right? There's things that y'all go through, whether it's transitioning through a certain age, right, where your body is changing. I don't know if this was ever proven to be true, but I was taught once upon a time that women's cycles could even change as they're around other women. Ladies, y'all could tell me how true that is or not, but I remember learning that or hearing that from people ages ago. Like, let's say a woman lives in a crib by herself, and then another woman moves into the apartment with her. Their cycles might change. I don't know. Y'all put me out. Put me on to that, right? I see people can say triggers from things like emotional stuff, states and whatnot, right? Like certain women got a calendar on their fucking wall and they got when their cycle is it's circled. Right? And then there's other times where it's you're not sure. You're just not sure. Like things could change. Like I don't need to get into all that, especially I'm not a woman. I have a little bit of a little bit of knowledge from being around women, right? But I'm just saying, dude, like it doesn't mean because the lights came on and you looked at the sheets and you was like, oh wow, this isn't really what I wanted, right? The same way you can say it was done on purpose, there's a million women in the world that's going to say it wasn't done on purpose. All right?
Period. That's disgusting, and I deserved more respect than that. Cassandra Ventura, your idol, did this to herself. She exposed as a man, if I had laid down with a woman and forced myself on her and orgasmed in her and she got up and it was leaking out of her, guess what? I would have raped her. So by
oh yeah, we're gonna stop. Hold on. He's going in. I'm chill out. Still YouTube. Yeah, chill out. I know this is a mature chat. I'll constantly keep an eye on the demographics of our audience here, but even still. All right. I don't know how much you guys want to see this, right? But guess what? He has a book. He has a book, people. Clayton H. Cassie, victim or co-conspirator? You see, Cassie, victim or co-conspirator. My experience inside P. Diddy freak off. 2025 writes. Should I try to read the back of this? The author Clayton Howard is an advocate and victim of intimate partner stalking. He now operates a nonprofit starting by his late mother and speaks out against victims' rights violations and gender bias. In a daring literary debut, Clayton Howard steps out from the shadows to share deeply. Steps out from the shadows. A lot of people stepping out from the shadows right now, huh? Personal, hauntingly intimate account of his 8-year relationship with music industry icon Sean Diddy Combs and his girlfriend Cassandra Ventura, revealing a side of fame rarely seen and even more rarely spoken about. Howard's memoir, Cassie, is not a tabloid expose, but a raw and emotionally layered portrait of a secret life lived at the intersection of desire, power, and vulnerability. Now, you saw that piece earlier when he was saying in the audio, I'm not here to put Cassie in jail. I don't want to see anything bad happen to her. I'm not here to ruin her life. She has 3 beautiful children, etc., etc. That feels a little bit of a contradictory. Now, we get it. A lot of people is always going to ask, what's up with all these situations that are civil opposed to criminal? If you were SA'd, assaulted, or whatever, when were you going to, during the course of this 8 years, get the fuck up and say, I have a problem with what these people are doing to me, right? You're a civilian. You're supposed to use the laws, right? You're using it now for the money, right? So you have that aspect there, but you're still suing the person. And you happen to know that she's got $30 million. This happened to get filed, I believe, June 30th originally. June 30th. Okay. We knew that Cassie got 20 from Diddy and 10 from the hotel over a month and a half ago. The filing timing is very convenient. All right. You're not trying to ruin her. I don't want you to have any problems. I respect the three beautiful children that you have, but let me get some of that bread you got. We're serious here, huh? All right. Do I really need to read the rest of it? I don't need to promote this book, but all right. This is a little bulleted kind of breakdown highlight for us before I pull up some of the paperwork. Clayton Howard's lawsuit. What happens to Cassie if she lied? Legal analysis. If Clayton Howard's claims are true, here's the breakdown. If she lied under oath in depositions or sworn filings, that's perjury. Okay. A federal crime. Prosecutors don't always act. But if the lie was material, she could face charges. If she lied publicly or in her lawsuit and Howard proves it, Diddy or others could sue her for defamation, fraud, or emotional distress. If she knowingly gave Howard an STD or lured him into sex acts under false pretenses, she could be sued for negligence, battery, and sexual fraud. If the feds believe she was a co-organizer of the freak-offs, not a victim, she could lose her protected status and risk being labeled a co-conspirator in trafficking. Worst case, she's hit with civil liability and criminal exposure. But the bigger blow may be her credibility in court and in public. I don't know if she plans on being in court anymore, but Howard says Cassie ran the freak offs. She lied. If a judge believes him, the legal tide may turn. I don't know if some of that is from the standpoint of the trial still going on. The trial is over. Well, convictions, yeah. So, but she's still exposed to things, especially on the civil side, right? She's still she still got to be mindful of her testimony, and you still got the perjury element and all that. All that double jeopardy and immunity stuff, I think, plays a part criminally, of course. Civilly, different ballgame. All right. And people now have their outcomes of the trial. So now that helps these lawyers and some of these alleged victims to navigate their angles. Okay. Let's take a quick glimpse at some of the paperwork, but it's not enough. Okay. Ironically, you don't see Cassie's oh, actually, I'm sorry, you do. I thought I glimpsed this earlier and didn't see it. I was about to say, I don't know why, but no, it is there. Okay. Clayton Howard plaintiff versus Sean Combs, Cassandra Ventura, Bad Boy Records, Epic Records, Combs Enterprises, LLC, Beverly Hills Hotel. I guess that's what he's saying. He's having a lot of freak offs with them, corporation, and Doe Corporations 1 through 10. Doe Corporations, every time we see Doe, I don't know if this Doe or DOE stands for something, but the fact that we see 1 through 10, when we've seen that before, to us, that means there's a bunch of people that's just not, like we saw that in people, but this is now corporations. So I'm assuming that that's what that is. 10 possible businesses that are not named yet, but they're going to probably be described in the complaint, right? Jury trial demanded. All right. It gives us a clear trigger warning at the top. This document contains highly graphic information of sexual nature, including sexual assault. And this is a 49 pager, significant write-up. There's a lot of details and a lot of stuff in here. What I did, though, just to spare us, is I skipped to STD. I said, let me just search the STD stuff, because civilly, if you're able to prove that somebody knowingly gave you an STD, I don't care whether we're arguing whether this guy should be included in Me Too, whether he was SA'd or not, whether it was consensual or not. There's one thing I'm always going to side with the victim of. I'm always going to side saying that my common sense tells me nobody purposefully wants an STD. Maybe I can say, like, nigga, please, you said yourself you was down on your buck and you needed the money, so you continue to do this shit. That nigga, you was there fucking Cassie and you was getting a nut too. Maybe tough to make me believe some of that shit. But I'm with you. I don't think that you wanted an STD during the course of all this, okay? But proving that somebody gave you an STD purposefully, different ball game, okay? How do you prove it purposefully? You have to prove that the person knew that they had it, right? Yet they didn't disclose it to you and they didn't take protective measures. How do you prove that? I don't know if you can, because all the HIPAA rules and laws and all that type of stuff. I don't know if you could just get your hands on somebody's medical records like that. But there's still ways to find out. Like, what if you walk into some people do this? Some men and women do this shit. They will come over somebody's house for the first time. They will go use the bathroom, and what do? They open up the medicine cabinet. They look around. Fuck around, open up the medicine cabinet, see some prescriptions. What kind of prescription is this? This is some weird ass name. Let me Google this shit real quick. You Google the weird ass name of what the fucking drug says. It says commonly used to combat herpes simplex. What the fuck? But it's not enough. You know, so if you can prove, or if you took pictures of that, but then again, if you took pictures of that and then you still had sex with the person, then I'm going to say maybe you're consenting. But I'm just creating a scenario. Anyway, there's just ways to try to prove that the person knew that they had an STD and didn't disclose it to you, and didn't take protective measures, right? So civilly, I'm always going to side with somebody if that happens to you. All right, but like I said, searching for STD. The first place that I find it brings me up to this section. Miss Ventura manipulates Mr. Howard into MDMA use and unprotected sex. How do you manipulate somebody into not just drugs? Now, if you're getting drugged, then that's one thing. But manipulate you, how? Like, what's an example of being manipulated? This is just weed, and then you hit it, and you start freaking out like Smokey and Friday, and you realize it's Angel Dust, Holmes, or they put some hash in the shit or something. You were manipulated, yeah, manipulated into unprotected sex. I guess you could say you did this whole thing about you being clean, and it, I don't know. And then I feel manipulated because I ended up with an STD. All right. During the trial testimony, Miss Ventura, Mr. Howard heard her statements regarding Mr. Combs and how she allegedly had been forced to have unprotected sex with male entertainers. Mind you, people, we're not out here saying that this is a fake person, as if he's just jumping out and saying, hey, I was involved with Cassie. His name came up in the trial, okay? Miss Ventura claimed to have never wanted such activities and to have only engaged in them as a result of Mr. Combs' abuse and attempts to blackmail her. Although this allegation was substantiated in one instance during the trial, it is not the same in all. It also does not completely substantiate all of Miss Ventura's claims of force and coercion, as every instance is not the same. So he's definitely exposing the shit out of Cassie and his claims. Mr. Howard confidently asserts that Mr. Combs did not force Miss Ventura to engage in a sexual encounter after the overdose she experienced while in his presence. It was Miss Ventura who begged for the encounter despite Mr. Combs' repeated attempts to end the night due to the overdose. Let's skip down a little bit. In response to Miss Ventura lied to Mr. Combs, falsely informing him that she had reviewed Mr. Howard's STD test results and had confirmed he was completely clean. If that ain't a co-conspirator. Mr. Howard, immediately conscious of the lie, interrupted and told Mr. Combs the truth, which was that Miss Ventura had told him was false. So what is he saying? Wait, stop. I do have an STD? Mr. Howard then provided his actual STD test results to Mr. Combs directly from his email. Once unprotected sex began, Mr. Howard would be persuaded into continuing it by both parties. All right, let's skip down. Is this a different section that I was looking at to glance with y'all? Miss Ventura manipulates Mr. Howard into MDA and unprotected sex. Right here. All right. Mr. Howard contracts STD from Miss Ventura. Let's see if he's got one of them stories I was talking about, like the medicine cabinet. Miss Ventura's disregard for the health and safety of others while attempting to satisfy the sexual fetishes of her lover caused personal injury to Mr. Howard when he contracted an STD from her during the encounter where the two engaged in unprotected sex. Although Mr. Howard met Miss Ventura as a male companion, he was STD free and rarely had unprotected sexual encounters. While engaged in the coercion of Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura, Mr. Howard was in a committed monogamous relationship, which had begun before he met Miss Ventura. Okay, so what happened before? I guess he's using that to say, because I was in a monogamous relationship, that's my proof that I was clean, which means that if this was my partner after that, that's where I got it. Nigga, we don't know who you really fucking. This paperwork is going to say anything in your benefit. Besides his partner, Miss Ventura was the only other sexual. There it is. I knew it was coming. Only sexual. The only person in my life is Cassie from the Freak Offs. Yeah. Other sexual partners, Mr. Howard did not use condoms during the time of contraction. Mr. Howard had been semi-retired as a male provider. What's a male provider? With Miss Ventura being his last client before he exited completely. Oh, so you were retiring on Cassie. Was the checks good? What was going on? What you be? y'all really, I'm not going, come on, y'all killing me. See, sometimes we get to this paperwork, man, and it kills me. And it fucking kills me. Let me see if I could find something in the in like a conclusion that's worth. Wait, hold on. Mr. Howard contracts an STD from Miss Ventura. Is that another entry? What's this one? Mr. Howard witnesses horrific acts of domestic violence against Miss Ventura. Okay, so you've seen some of the stuff too. Mr. Howard cooperates with the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. This is important because once again, he's claiming that Tyrone Blackburn was curving him. And they're linking that into the protection of the credibility of Cassie. If we start bringing this guy in and he starts talking all this crap about, no, she gave me an STD. She's the one that set it up. She's the one that forced herself on me. She's the one that forced the issue at times with me and both Diddy at times. She was so consensual. She was this, she was that. She wasn't a victim. And they're like, oh, this is our star witness. We don't need that. And they curve him to the point where he files it on his own, substantiating that, yes, he was cooperating and working with the Southern District of New York, which is where the trial was just held out of. And that started in mid-December 2023. Agents from the Department of Homeland Security Investigations contacted Mr. Howard regarding his encounter with Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura, requesting that he comes in for an interview. There you have it. It's the web effect. And then sometimes people might ask, like, how you even get all these people? First of all, it's the feds. They got a shit in the government. They got a shitload of resources, but you got the web effect as well from first person, right? Let's say hypothetically, the first person is Cassie and the feds turned their eyes when they saw that damn lawsuit going, her suit that kicked off a lot of things in a lot of people's eyes. You got names in those lawsuits. If you don't have names in those lawsuits, you got John Does and Jane Does in those lawsuits. When I sit down with Cassie, I want those names. I want those phone numbers. I want those Instagram accounts. I want those addresses. I want those situations. I want those stories. Then next thing you know, after 2 months of interviewing people, you got 50 people on your bulletin board. You know? So, yeah, they got in touch with his ass too in mid-December 2023. This is also around the time where certain people and assistants were saying Diddy was reaching out to them like, hey, big head, how you doing? Hey, rent, you still need your rent paid? Oh, I got you. Yeah. By the way, if the feds ever reach out to you, you know how to play that, right? Right? Remember dude in the bathtub scene in Training Day when he let Officer Hoyt live and they brought him up, put a towel around his shoulder to clean him up. You know, it's just business, right? Right? You know you're ruthless when you talk to a cop. You know you're ruthless when you let a cop go after being about to kill a cop. Damn, I'm getting sidetracked. But you are ruthless as shit if you was about to kill a cop and then you let him go back out into the world. A cop, that's the biggest gang. The police, the police force. You's ruthless. I never thought about that. All right. What is this? First cause of action, sex trafficking, okay, against all defendants. So you're putting sex trafficking on Cassie. Second cause of action, civil remedy for human trafficking. You're definitely calling yourself being trafficked. Third cause of action, civil remedy for human trafficking. Okay. Fourth cause of action, federal civil remedy for human trafficking. Again, Trafficking Victims Protection Act against all defendants. All the corporations that's listed, all the Doe corporations, Cassie and Diddy. What is this? Fifth cause of action, sexual essay pursuant to the California Sexual Abuse and Cover-Up Accountability Act. Sixth cause of action, civil liability for violations of New York penal law. So was he flying around with them in both New York and Cali? Seventh cause of action, violation of New York state human rights law against all defendants. Eighth cause, New York Services for Victims Human Trafficking against all defendants. Prayer for relief. Compensatory damages in the amount to be proven at trial, including but not limited to past and future medical expenses, past and future loss of earnings and diminished earning capacity. Here we go. Pain and suffering, emotional distress damages. You need to shut up. All the shit you're doing online then. Punitive damages to punish defendants' egregious criminal conduct and deter similar future conduct. Pre and post judgment interest as provided by law, cost and reasonable attorney's fees, punitive damages pursuant to Florida statutes. Florida too? Such and other further relief as the court deems just and proper. People, the title says, is Cassie really a victim or co-conspirator? New lawsuit. So the convictions that came down pretty much answers that. Whether you think that the courts or the jury got it right or wrong, they pretty much answered that. Not believing that Cassie and Jane were sex trafficked or they were coerced, and all the evidence and text messages and emails and gifts and the amount of time and rent still being paid and all that, the jury simply didn't believe those two women, right? They don't believe that they was there handcuffed to a bed this whole time. There's too much that is on the other side, evidence-wise, as well as how you just perceive the trial, looking at all this testimony. So, does that now make you a co-conspirator? Legally, I don't know. But perception-wise, yes. Yes, if all this stuff is happening and these guys are getting pulled off of these websites and text messages and Cassie's opening the door and sometimes Cassie's giving the payment and Jane's setting up the freak off and you're the one that's grabbing the bottles and all that. And not even just the Janes and the Cassies of the world, right? All the way down to the people that stood on that fucking stand with immunity, right, at times and explained, yeah, I was a person that cleaned shit up. I was the person that set the room. I was the person that brought in all the Astroglide and the baby oil. I was the person that made sure that the people that came into the rooms after us, we didn't leave anything behind to make tabloids. Those are allegedly, from a perception standpoint, for me, logically, co-conspirators then, right? But he wasn't charged with that. So I guess that's why I say legally, no, but perception-wise, yes. Okay. So multiple things can be true here. The verdict, as well as the perception of people like Cassie and Jane, yes, you aided in all of this shit. And at times from very consensual positions, right? But I think there's also a lot of bullshit to this guy's claims. And I think we just read through a bunch of that. I think we pulled up a bunch of that. What it boils down to now, whether the Cassies or maybe the Janes or anybody, who knows? Young Miami, everybody's on code red post the verdict. Everybody. The same way the floodgates opened up after Cassie's lawsuit went in on Diddy, especially after he paid her off in like a day, right? The floodgates are now opened up for Cassie. The verdict. If the verdict comes in that she was coerced, she was forced, she was kidnapped, she was sex trafficked, she was taken full advantage of, she wasn't consenting in none of this, then we establish her as a full victim. But she left that trial via the verdict being fully opposite of being labeled as per the verdict of a victim of Diddy. So now that shit is done, here comes the next floodgate. And I laughed when we first saw this shit, and I was just like, yo, how ironic is it that Diddy and Cassie are now co-defendants in a civil case? They're now back to back. Their lawyers got to work together, maybe. I figured this out. You know what I'm saying? Exchange discovery items between them. Get their stories straight together and shit. That's bugged out. But I doubt this guy right here will be the last, because everybody knows Cassie got $30 million. And they see the verdict. Okay. How many times are criminal verdicts going to be tying into possible civil suit outcomes as well? Big for ASAP. Rocky, right? Relly's up there swearing he's about to be sipping Mai Tais on an island somewhere. He wants ASAP Rocky to be convicted criminally. Then he wants to move towards his civil, right? But he wasn't convicted, right? So that greatly damages his civil lawsuit, greatly. And it's similar here. People see the outcomes of this, and any male escort now is going to be writing books. Some of them will be filing lawsuits. Some of them will be coming out and talking shit. And now you're going to start seeing more and more of Cassie and Jane being painted in the light that a lot of people painted Diddy in, period. It is what it is. All right. I promise y'all this will not be a long one. Kendrick. I just thought this was dope to see, dope to share for all Kendrick fans as well as hip hop fans. When I see people win like this, I mean, he's been winning for, what are we marching down on like 2 years now? His winning is not slowing down. It's a thing to be studied at some point. This whole shit. I mean, he was very successful before the battle, but from battle all the way through to today, it is to be studied. Like, if you can get all the formula, all the decisions, all the moves that the man has with his team decided to sit down and make, navigating that moment of the battle all the way up into today, there's a lot of gems. There's a lot of business knowledge. There's a lot that can be gained. It should be studied, B. I'm telling you, this is not a moment. This is a lifetime run. This is one of the greatest runs. People sometimes have 5-month runs, hit singles, then they gone. A tour, one big tour, one big album, one big moment, go viral once, or the navigation to this is just ridiculous. Will Kendrick's record-breaking run ever be repeated? Is the caption there. Wow. GNX is the longest running #1 on the top rap albums chart. Okay. It has spent 22 weeks and counting at #1. And GNX is not his best album. I don't even know if it's his second. It's not his second best album either. It's not ahead of Mr. Morale. It's not, definitely, we're not going to talk about Good Kid, Mad City. But I don't know if it's ahead of Damn. It might be #4. It might be his 4th best album. It's a great album, but I don't know. Not Like Us has won more Grammys than any other song. It won 5 awards at this year's ceremony. Kendrick has the most watched Super Bowl show ever. His 2025 halftime show drew 133.5 million viewers. Kendrick and SZA have the highest grossing joint tour ever. Their GNX tour pulled in 256.4 million from just 23 shows. Not Like Us is the longest running rap song on the Hot 100. It spent 53 consecutive weeks on the chart, including 3 at #1. Luther is the longest running #1 on the Hot R&B hip hop songs chart. It has spent 26 weeks atop the chart, surpassing Not Like Us. What? I didn't know that. Yeah, well, I mean, if it's #1, but Luther, wow. Well, the nature of this type of song, it goes into places that maybe Not Like Us doesn't, as far as like households, like kids is listening to Luther, like little kids is singing Luther and stuff. It's more radio friendly across the board. It's not like there's got to be even markets that have loyalty to Drake, or higher ups above Drake, where where Not Like Us isn't, or is more damaging, whereas Luther is just one of those, play it anywhere on any platform at any time. And it's a dope track. It is. Not Like Us is the only diss track to win a Grammy. Not even Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas achieved that feat. Not Like Us has more single day Spotify streams than any other rap song. It eclipsed Drake's Girls Want Girls with 12.8 million streams. Kendrick has won more BET awards than any artist. He recently took home 5 awards, pushing his total to 37. And there's more. We've seen and covered some of those other like little smaller granular accolades and records and wins that he's been racking up. But it's hate. It's hate. It's either hate or ignorance to just call this. This is just the battle, or this is just because he dropped Not Like Us on Drake, or it doesn't happen because you can put, like, I'm not even exaggerating a number. I feel like you could take 1 million other people with their teams, put them in that same spot, and this is not the full run or the full outcome. There's choices, movement, artistry, decisions, timing, his own song. There's so much that even tactical things like how much of the world walked away from the halftime show complaining, even before the halftime show. Matter of fact, people like Academics, when they leaked the halftime show track list, right? People were going after Kendrick. People were killing him for that. Where's all the hits? Where's all the songs that you performed at the Pop Out tour? Where's all the songs that you wore prior awards for? Where's all the stuff that was under TDE? And the man moved such a big piece on his chessboard and said, I'm going with my imprint right now, GNX, which within itself from the Super Bowl moment is also going to add generational type of money to whatever I got going on right now. GNX was such a chess play decision to do those songs heavily at the Super Bowl halftime show. You gotta use the halftime show to benefit everything. Some people drop albums at their Super Bowls, they drop their debut songs, movie, whatever. He went GNX. And in the moment, I was at the game, my ignorant ass, like, damn, why he didn't do my favorite song from Good Kid, Mad City, or from Damn, or from Mr. Morale? The Kendricks and the PG Langs of the world are sitting there like, just hold on, young man. You'll understand soon. If you got a brain, if you're willing to listen, if you're willing to watch, give it a couple weeks, give it a month or two, you'll understand. And now I'm just like, oh, I understand this Tetris puzzle that he's dropping down. Now I get it. It's just, you can't take 1 million people in the world with their teams, put them in the same spot, and they end up with the same accolades and all the same achievements and all the same wins and all the same numbers. Stop hating, stop being flat out ignorant, and give this man and his team this historic credit that he's built. And the spooky thing is still building. All right, there goes your Kendrick topic real quick. I thought that this was going to be funny for y'all, okay? Speaking of Cassie, check this out real quick.
Imagine being abused by somebody rich and powerful for years. I'm sorry. Happy 4th of July, Independence Day and all. But let's get to it. Imagine being abused by somebody rich and powerful for several years, and your abuse be witnessed by others, but they don't say anything. They don't help you. They don't even speak out against the person because they don't want to possibly miss out on benefiting from that person's resources. Your life being in danger and you being beaten and everything is worth them maintaining a certain level of status with this person. And they can't say they didn't know. Actually, let's even take it further. Let's say your abuse is on tape for the world to see, and they see how bad it is. And you go, you know what? I got out of that situation. And if I get out of that situation and I have to live in this world with my abuser, I feel like my abuser should be punished by law and I should be compensated monetarily. And then the world goes, no. You benefited from being abused by somebody rich and powerful. Yeah, you were being abused, but imagine being abused by somebody poor with no status. That's a way worse life. So when you think about it, you actually should be kind of grateful. You shouldn't be compensated anything at all, so you don't get no money. And then it goes to court, and then they're not really found of any wrongdoing. They say, yeah, they were abusive, but not enough to be really punished for that. And they get a slap on the wrist. And then you wake up the next day and you see people celebrating their freedom. And you have to sit there uncompensated, watching people celebrate the freedom of your abuser.
Hey, but Cassie got paid though, bro.
Oh no. I know Cassie got paid. This ain't about Cassie at all. No. But like I said, Happy 4th of July. Enjoy those fireworks. Oh yeah, I'm.
Wow. Wow. Did he catch y'all the way he caught me? The whole skit was not about Cassie. When he was talking about rich people, I mean, you're being abused by a rich person at least, and you should, so now you shouldn't be compensated. He's talking about 40 acres and a mule. He's not talking about Cassie. The whole thing is not about Cassie. And him as a comedian, he did something that I pay attention to. Great comedians do as well. The callbacks, right? Like when Dave Chappelle does in the middle of the show, this skit about, you know, the baby on the corner, right? Buying drugs. And then he ends up, you know, talking about being in a club and the baby snuck in the club. Like, it's a callback, right? When he started this skit right here, he started talking about Cassie or July 4th, right? He's like, yeah, so imagine if, oh, wait, hold on. By the way, y'all, happy July 4th. He embedded it right there in the beginning. That was the catch, but you don't know that because it flows with, it sounds like it's just a quick July 4th shout out. It's not. He embedded it in the beginning, and then he does the callback at the end. I'm not talking about Cassie this whole time, nigga. That shit was incredible. I think that was very, very clever. But on the low, that's another example of how Cassie and the Janes of the world are now looked at post-conviction. You have lost the victim label. You have lost it. All right. Chat. Really was only going to do 2 topics today. That full-length Cassie and Clayton Howard breakdown. And then also that Kendrick highlight. You know, sometimes we do up to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 topics, smaller, mid-size, whatever. But I knew we was gonna get into the weeds of that Cassie one. So hour and 11 in. Shout out to everybody that's once again getting their morning rolling, tuned in at points of the stream, getting their ass to work, getting out of bed, getting the kids together, getting themselves together, staying productive, staying positive. Getting to it, getting on the grind, man. Shout out to y'all. Happy Monday once again. And yeah, we'll be back in the morning, man. I got y'all. It's your boy.
Don't confuse silence with work ethic. I'm a boss making decisions, my first fetish. The verse cherished is perfect, that's a reverse blemish. I dropped it, connected the block, learn Tetris.
This is the Sorry Street Podcast. Welcome to the house of. And shout out to the members.
Without my thing, still got a gun. Red breed.